Well, this afternoon, you need to get ready because you will be paying more for water and electricity in the coming days. The Public Utilities and Regulatory Commission has announced an upward adjustment of electricity tariff by some 27.15% and water by 21.55%. Executive Secretary of PURC, Dr. Ishmael Aka, says a new tariff will be taking effect from September this year, and this to help service providers stay afloat.
To begin with, we divided the proposal into two. We have the operational side, operational expenditure, and this includes human resource, operations and maintenance and others. For that one, we didn't touch it because the utilities need these to survive. They need to pay people, they need to employ and all that. But when it comes to the capital expenditure, which was quite bigger, we took a number of decisions. One of them is that one of the main components of the capital expenditure is depreciation. Another one is the return on equity. Then we have investments and others. When you take the depreciation, some of these companies, in fact, all of them, they revalued their assets. And when you do the revaluation, you calculate your depreciation on the value you got, and you submitted it. We realized that most of them use what we call the gross replacement method in estimating the depreciation. But the gross depreciation method has some disadvantages. One of them is that the assets, a percentage of that asset has been paid for. For instance, asset you invested in 2012. You've charged depreciation from that time till now. So if we want to do depreciation now, we need to at least take what has been paid for out so that we know the remaining value and then we charge on it. So we did that. Again, some utilities also put in their proposals that they owe government. And government took some loans and gave them online loans. And government has asked them to pay. So if they are to pay, then they are going to put it in their tariff. So again, we decided to engage the government, that this is what they are saying. The government said it is true, but at least for this year, the regulated year, they are not expecting any money from them. So what it means is that we take that out. When it comes to return on equity, we decided to disaggregate the assets into three. Assets that were financed by government, assets that were financed by the utilities themselves, and assets that were financed by grants. Those that were financed by the government. The government is to get return on equity because the government is the owner. Government can say that zero that return on equity, and that is what we did. So when you look at the decisions, the policy decisions, and you look at the modeling and other analysis, we took some of these things out, and that is why the figure came down.
But clearly,
we engaged the utilities this morning before the announcement. They've asked a number of questions. Some of them can be addressed through the quarterly adjustment. So, for instance, the exchange rate. By the time we're making this decision, we didn't make the decision today. We had, let's say, an exchange rate figure. 1 month after that, that figure has changed. But we are using more like the previous figure. So there will be some under recoveries. So these ones have been taken on board, and they're going to adjust the tariff when we do the quarterly adjustment next quarter. By 1st September, what we've just announced will take effect.
Well, so clear indications there, but we do know that, for instance, the Ghana Water Company Limited was earlier demanding for a 334% increment in the tariffs, while that of the Electricity Company of Ghana was pegged at 148% increment. That was the demand. The Ghana Water Company, in its proposal, indicated that over the years, the approved tariffs have not been fully cost reflective. We'll be engaging the ECG and the Ghana Water Company shortly to find out what their reaction is to this new tariff adjustment and as to whether or not it's sufficient. But first, data analyst and a member of our research desk, Kofi Ajay, joins me via Zoom to break down the figures. First of all, Kofi, let's start off with the summary of the approved new tariffs. What's it looking like, and what are we likely to pay as consumers?
Well, so there is, clear difference between what these utility companies requested for and what they actually got. So, for instance, we have the Ghana Water Company that requested for 334% upward adjustment of their tariffs, and then we saw them getting just 21.55%. That's way, there's kind of like a variation between what they requested for and what they actually got. If you also look at Electricity Company of Ghana, they requested for more than 140% upward adjustment, and we saw they had just 22.15%. And so those are some of the key highlights of PRC's presentation. But as to what the normal consumer or the person who is using the utility will
that's
pay,
the ultimate concern, right?
Exactly, is the ultimate concern. So if you're someone, I engage them and I said, usually Ghanaians consume between, in terms of electricity, Ghanaians consume between 0 to 300 kilowatts per hour. And then when you are calculating the tariff, we have what we call the energy charge and then also the service charge. And so the service charge is actually fixed, where the energy charge varies depending on the amount of energy you are actually consuming. So if you take someone who is consuming, that person is not on the lifeline, tangent, and the person is consuming between 0 to 300 megawatts per hour. That person usually formerly was paying 65 pesos per kilowatt hour, but now we'll be paying 89 kilowatts per hour, and we'll have to pay an additional service charge of 10 cedis, 73 pesos. Usually the service charge was 7 cedis, 45 pesos. And if you look at non-residential, customers, they were formerly paying, the energy charge was 79 pesos, and then now they will be paying 73 pesos. Their service charge formerly was 12 cedis, 42 pesos, and it hasn't changed. It's still the same 4 cedi, 42 pesos. Blessed.
We know that, for instance, if you take a look at the lifeline range, that has also been slashed. So is it the case that those who consume less may be favored in the new arrangement that we have?
Well, in ECG's pricing, I'm talking about electricity, they do what we call price discrimination. And so if you're a consumer in Accra, you don't expect to pay the same as someone who is in maybe a village in the, probably in the Ashanti region or elsewhere. And it all depends on the amount of units you consume in a month. And so formally, if you consume between 0 to 50 kilowatt hour, we classified you to be, we put you on the lifeline, tangent, or you qualify to be in the lifeline range or a lifeline consumer. But now this has been slashed from the 0 to 50 that we used to know to 0 to 30. So it means that if you consume more than 30 kilowatts per hour of electricity, you are no longer on the lifeline tangent. Now you are actually in what they term as all other residential customers, and then you will be paying, the 89 pesos per kilowatt hour. You wouldn't be paying the 41.9 pesos per kilowatt hour that the lifeline consumers are actually paying. And so there's other findings that we actually picked from this presentation. The fact that now those who are actually using electricity for production or industrial purpose are now paying slightly less than consumers who are using them as for residential purpose. And then we heard from the PRC saying this is to help cut down on production costs, so that these industries that we have can actually bring down their costs and then also employ people in their sectors.
How about water?
Well, water, we do not have, I haven't seen any classification as lifeline. But what we do know is that water, in terms of the consumption, it's actually ranges between 5 cubic meters, which is about 5,000 liters of water consumption. If you look at that side in terms of the consumption, Blessed, if you look at someone who is for residential purpose consuming between 0 to 5 cubic meters, and that person was usually formerly paying 3 cedis, 29 pesos per cubic meter. So if that person was consuming, let's say, 5,000 liters of water, that person was paying 3 cedis 29 pesos, but now will be paying 4 cedis. And for those who are, we'll be paying a service charge of 6 cedis actually, and then that service charge has been increased from the 6 cedis to 7 cedis 29 pesos. For those who are using it for non-residential purpose, we've actually also seen an increment from the 9 cedis 23 pesos to now 11 cedis 21 pesos. Service charge has also been increased from 6 cedis to 7 cedis 29 pesos. And those who are also using it for commercial purpose, so sachet water producers, currently they are paying per cubic meter, they are paying 12 cedis 37 pesos. Now they'll be paying 15 cedis and some pesos. Their service charge has also increased from 6 cedis to 7 cedis 29 pesos.
Isaac Oveje, data analyst and also a member of our research desk here at Joy News. Well, we've been on the streets sampling some views about the latest tariff adjustment.
I've heard about it today, Monday, 15th of August. I heard about it in the newspapers that there is going to be an increase of electricity tariffs and other bills. But, I was a little amazed because this is the time that we are paying e-levy, prices of petrol keep increasing every day in and day out. And then, looking at the economic crisis, a lot of youth are in the house without jobs, and then now electricity is also, and water bills are going to be increased. So it's a little, difficult moment for us. But as citizens, there's nothing we can do. But we are still, telling our leaders that now that they are increasing tariffs and then prices of taxes and other bills are being increased for the citizens, they should also do their possible best to make sure that our income will be increased. I'm talking about our pay, because electricity bills, water bills are increasing, but our pay has not been increased. So when your expenditure is more than your income, life becomes difficult for you. So we are telling our government and other leaders that they should also do something about our pay and then other things, so that life will be a little easier for us in this country.
In every country, there's a need to improve, especially infrastructure and the necessity or the needs of citizens. And it's in the right way when people pay what they use, as in the utility fees, etc. But then it should be value for money. I mean, what they pay is that what they get? Is that the services they get, or is that what is being given? It's a bit challenging where we find ourselves in very tough situations, and government should be realistic, or should be real with the people. Things are tough, so increasing tariffs, increasing bills, I don't think, as it stands now, is the right way to go. He should work on loosening the economy and making things a bit flexible. That is when we can talk about increasing tariffs. But for now, it's not really realistic. Things are a bit tough, and it's going to put more strains on the citizens.
I think we can't bear it. We can't bear it anymore, because looking at the economic hardship and looking at the way the city is also rising, and people are having a lot of problems in Ghana now. We can't even eat. We can't even feed ourselves. How much more the tariffs going up? We can't pay. It is unbearable. It is not fine. We can't stand it. I think what we'll be doing is, now we ourselves will be putting our electricity off, our fridges off, and be rationalizing like the way it was before. We put it off in the morning, and then in the evening we just put it on, because there's no way we can bear it. The prices are too high for us. But that's the only way we can do to maintain our money. Even though what we put in the fridges will be like it will spoil, but there's no, we can't bear it now. It is too expensive. Life is too costly now these days. We can't bear it.
Well, some of the concerns there on the streets of Accra. Let's bring in our Kofi Capital, Chief Executive Officer of the Consumer Protection Agency. Kofi, you were, of course, right there through the process when the PURC was engaging stakeholders on coming to terms with the final figures. It appears that they've done quite a great job looking at the significant demands coming through from ECG and the Ghana Water Company. What do you think?
Our viewers or your listeners. Yes, PRC did their best, but like the saying go, their best was not good enough. In a sense that we all were expecting some increase, very minimum increase, even though it's gone down from over 100 plus percent to 20 something percent. The question is, can Ghanaians really afford, or consumers really afford this increase? The gentlemen were saying things that I agree. I've told some of the board members when I called them today that, listen, everything is going up in Ghana except salaries. And without salaries going up to be able to pay for these new high prices, I don't know what is going to happen. Let me tell you, I'm a little bit surprised that after increasing the actual cost, PURC also increased the service fees. To me, I think they could have done away with the service fee because you've increased the main source of the price of the utility. So for you to tell me that their services should also be increased, I find it a little bit disturbing.
And break that down for the average viewer who may not really be in tune with the technicalities. So what would this, or what will be the implication of the service increment?
Yeah, because the service fee basically is like you going to buy something from a shop and the shop owner tells you that because I am serving you, or like you go to a restaurant that you're supposed to give a tip to a waiter for a better service given to you. The question is, yes, the utilities are doing their best, but we all are challenged as people in Ghana. And to me, if the food itself, if I go to a restaurant and the food has been increased, I don't understand why you should come and tell me that the tip that I'm going to be giving should always be also increased. It doesn't really add up because I already paid for a high cost of the food.
In all of this, I guess the ultimate concern of Ghanaians is that constant supply of both electricity and water supply. For some, going through the concerns of the utility providers, the fact that they are very much in high demand for liquidity, at least the increment now will help to show up the figures for ECG and Ghana Water Company to continue to supply us with its critical services. Is that not much more of a priority now as compared to the other issues surrounding service charges and an increment in the figures?
Yeah, we cannot talk and then leave the service charges as well. Yes, I agree. We want value for money. But the question is, even the utilities themselves, especially ECG, made an argument that there's something called distribution service charge 2. The distribution service charge 2, if they had been given that distribution service charge, there would not be even a need for them to increase the electricity. I'm waiting to see the full report.
Right.
I'm waiting to see the full report from the PURC to see whether the consideration of the distribution service charge to was given to them. To me, these are some of the things. Look, and then even what is called the tariff brackets. I think the time has come that Ghana, we should all be paid a uniform, especially residential users. We should all pay a fixed price regardless of your status, regardless of the more you use, the more you pay. Why is somebody being given a cheaper rate than somebody who wants to consume more?
Okay, so you want us to scrap the lifeline provisions, for instance, at ECG?
I'm not saying they should scrap. If somebody deserves a lifeline, I don't deserve a lifeline. I don't deserve a lifeline, but I'm being penalized for getting a lifeline from one side, and I'm also penalized for using more electricity because if I go beyond 300 to 301, and bump into a higher bracket. It doesn't make any sense.
There's one more issue coming up about the delayed announcement from the PURC. The feeling is, given that delay, we may have the utility providers come up once more, making another significant case for the figures to be increased. Do you feel that they will be justified if we see the water company and ECG reject these figures coming through from PURC?
I don't think they might reject, but what I'm afraid of is, we do every quarterly increase. So the question is, are we already past that quarter that the new increase will come sooner than we think? That is where I have a challenge, because we are already in what? We are already in August, right? And then they've announced it. So when does it take effect? It takes effect in September. So September, October, November, maybe December, another one will come. So what do we do?
Interesting consideration we should be giving at this moment. But for instance, we know that ultimately the concern will be about the consumer. We'll wait to see what the policy measures will be. But we're grateful for your time, Kofi Kapito, there joining us from the Consumer Protection Agency. Well, let's